Hello, beloveds. How are you? I was just doing some random thinking back on my rapport or relationships, the personal, intimate ones. And we were talking about, I was talking with girlfriend. So, me and one of my girlfriends, we're talking. And we're talking about this movie that we went to see, Honk for Jesus. Controversy. And we was talking about relationships and marriages and the things that we tolerate and put up with and how it, transforms over into the church and, how we're stuck in certain traditions and limiting beliefs and doctrines that, something's in my eye, that don't serve us and how we go along to get along, how we're hypocritical and judgmental in certain things. And it got me to thinking about my relationships, how out of all of the relationships, the intimate relationships that I have had, out of all of them, I only chose one. I only chose one of them. The rest of them chose me, and I just went with their attraction to me, not my attraction to them. And now that I'm thinking about the one that I chose, even though I chose him, it was the most, one of the most dysfunctional relationships I had. I was very young. He was much older than me. And he was just my whole world. But I chose him. I was drawn to him. The other relationships that I were in, they were because they chose me. And really, I never really knew how to choose. I never really learned how to choose. And when I decided that I wasn't going to just go along with whatever is drawn to me, and I wanted to be free in my own selection, I ran into this guy at work. We were working together, and he was drawn to me. But he was drawn to me spiritually, not physically. And because he was drawn to me, and he could be open with me spiritually, honestly, we spoke heart to heart. It wasn't a physical thing with us. It was spiritual with us. And I took the opportunity to use this relationship once it became intimate, to use this relationship as my way to express myself intimately. This was the first relationship where I started to open up and freely experiment with whatever it was I desired to do intimately with another partner. And I knew, and I told him this, that this is not a forever thing. We are together for a purpose. There is a reason behind our interaction. I don't know what it is, but once we fulfill it, I don't see us together. So in all of this sexual freedom that I was experiencing, I guess he was becoming frustrated because I wasn't trying to grow with someone spiritually at that point. I just wanted to figure out who I was sexually. And he allowed me to do that. And I don't even think he was really physically drawn to me physically, intimately. But he couldn't, he was unable to say no to the sexual energy. That's the thing that got him stuck with me. And he became challenged because he said a lot when we would talk, I feel like I'm running into a brick wall. And it was because I didn't want to be controlled. I didn't want to be transformed. I just wanted to be free to express myself sexually. He was my sexual experiment. And I fell in love with that freedom, with being able to exercise my sexual prowess and power. And I became fruitful and multiplied during this process. And he absconded, he fled. And it was because, and I know that there was a connection here, and I was in touch with myself spiritually and emotionally, and I hungered for and craved for true love. It wasn't with him, true love, but I could be free sexually with him. So I enjoyed that, but at the moment, that was my interpretation of love. This is love. This is I loved being able to freely express myself intimately with him. And he found it hard to resist that. So that kept him. But honey, when we became fruitful, and I can say to women who are in touch with their body, with the power and the energy of their sexual prowess, that they know. I knew the moment that I became pregnant. And when we finished, I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you for my child. I knew that I was pregnant. I knew what sex I was having, and I was right about all of it. The thing that I didn't anticipate was for him to flee. And I didn't anticipate being devastated by it. I was devastated. But hindsight is 2020. I was in love with the sexual freedom and not with the man. I was hurt because the trust that I had given him was the trust that was taken from me when I was younger. I trusted him with my body, with my emotions, but not with my heart. And that, at that point, was love to me. And when he was terrified of having another child, he left. And I'm realizing that now because emotionally, I'm realizing that now because I am seeking within myself on a different level. And I think the reason I was really hurt because out of all of this revelation and experimenting that I was doing intimately, I did give back. I did grow and nurture him. He did learn some things that he had not known before. Here we go, Ashford and Simpson. I'm building up and building up and now it's solid. So he became confident in what he had gained and went in his direction. I was pregnant and devastated, and I still hadn't even dealt with the loss of my father's death and what that meant to me. So yeah, all my family was away from me because they had all moved down south, and I was still back home doing it on my own. And I was devastated. I was hurt and I was bitter, and I was by myself for a long time. And I mean a long time. And the next relationship that I got in after that was just to relieve myself because it had been a long time. And this fella was honest with me. And because he was honest, that drew me in more. But this time I was able to see that it was all about the intimacy for me. Not all about the intimacy. It was all about the intimacy for him, because I began to see the pattern, and I was like, okay, you want more, and he's content with where we're at, but you're not. So when I recognized that I was falling for this cat, it was like, I gotta go, because he's not going where I'm going, and I'm not going where he's going. So that quick, the last relationship had reversed and met me where I was at. So that was karmic. That taught me, okay, so now you experienced on the other foot what it was that you wanted to experience. He wanted what you wanted. Now, this is the second person is the person that I should have met when I met the first person, because we were on the same page. But when I met him, I wasn't on the page as previously. By this time, I'm ready for companionship. I'm ready to meet with the minds and the heart now. But I was with somebody who was just, like I said, I was just looking to get some relief, to release. And I said all of that to say that there are changes that we go through in life, seasons that we experience, and sometimes we repetitiously repeat the same season over and over and over again, and we repeat it until we realize, excuse me, something is in my eye. And we keep repeating this cycle until we realize, what's the hiccup? What is the thing that I'm missing, that I'm doing wrong, that I'm not understanding, that I'm not correcting? And I always wanted an answer. I always wanted closure as to why did he leave? Because I felt like, because I nurtured him and helped him build what he wanted to build, I felt like that was the reason that he left me in a vulnerable and emotional state. And I needed closure, and I was looking for closure. And I had assumed that I got my closure because I had forgave, and eventually my heart began to heal. But it took a long time. It took a long time for me to heal from that, because all of the things that I wanted to do as a family, I wasn't able to do because I wasn't in the right headspace, number one. And I wanted something that I wasn't ready for. I wanted something I wasn't ready for. But I had wanted it so long. And I wanted it solely for the reason because I needed to be loved back. I needed to have someone or something that loved me back the way I loved it. And that was my child. That was my son. So yeah, that was my epiphany today for the day. I just wanted to share that. And in that realization, I have closure. Because it's no longer about why did he leave. Now it's about, okay, where were you at? What was your headspace for real? What is it that you see now that you didn't see then? So now I have my closure because I'm able to see clearly and identify. I can acknowledge my truth. I can accept my truth and my responsibility in the results of my truth. And I could say I would do it again. I wouldn't change it. I would do it again. I would do it again because I needed to do that. I needed to be free in a way that I hadn't been free before. And I haven't spoken to him in many, many years. I think the last conversation I had with him, my son wasn't even a teenager, and he's full grown. But I know every conversation that I had with him after my son was born, he always went right back to what I was able to do for him as far as building his ego and allowing him also to be sexually free, because he grew in that area as well. But when we spoke, that was the one area he always went to. So I was like, okay. So that's the thing. That's the thing that kept him there. He was able to cling because he was at another level in his sexuality that he had never been to before. And I'm sure he hasn't been to since. But that's another story. But yes, that's what I wanted. That's my noteworthy rant today. My noteworthy moment was just my epiphany that I have received closure from something that was devastating to me, and in all my efforts to get an answer and still be sound and grounded and, do things in a decent and orderly fashion to heal, to recover, and talking about this situation, these relationships, about this movie with my friend brought me to that epiphany. There's other details, there's other revelations, but that is the main source for now. So, I love you to life. Thank you for listening to my rant, and I'll see you in the future.